Hello to the viewers at home and welcome back to the second round of the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour here in Mollymook. We are back with the third and final game on this show court of the day. We have Mateusz, Zieba and James Takken playing up against youngsters Kiefer, Sinclair and Kaia. Clarkin. Should be a good game here today. We step out onto the beach. The weather is getting a bit cool, a bit frosty out there, and the wind's starting to pick up a bit more gusty than it is before. It will be interesting to see how the juniors handle this situation. Ball in the hands of James Takken to start us off. Mateusz, even James Takken coming off a very good performance, unfortunately, going out to Chris McHugh and Paul Burnett in their first round of the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour in Cobram. So they'll be keen to rectify that loss in this one.
What a cracker game that was in Cobram, wasn't it, Lewis?
Absolutely, right down to the wire. Multiple match points on the line both ways. And in the end, Paul Burnett and Chris McHugh just coming through to seal that one.
So, Lewis, what do you expect from this game from the boys in the pink? Let's start with the boys in the pink. Kaia Clarkin and Kiefer Sinclair from the Australian Volleyball Academy.
Well, both the young players. Kiefer Sinclair, really crafty, really fast. Reminds me of that sort of young Mark Nicolaides, young Damien Shubin sort of vibe. Really fast on the defense. Great read of the game, great IQ. Clever player. And Kaia Clarkin is just the big man at the net. Absolutely phenomenal. He has a really nice block and he has a hammer for his hand. It is very deceptive because when you're up there, it does not look like he's swinging his arm very fast, but once he makes contact, comes off like a lightning bolt. So really impressive to watch there.
Do you think his fishing hat helps him?
Absolutely, 100%. The fact it's held on by the chin strap, drawn like the drawstring there, nice and tight, definitely helps him out.
I reckon he gets more airtime with it.
Absolutely, yeah. The hang time has definitely increased. The umbrella effect slowing him down on his descent. It'll be interesting to see how the juniors shape up against veteran of the beach volleyball community, Mateusz Zieba, who is a phenomenal blocker. His ability, he may not be the biggest blocker on the tour, especially with the likes of guys such as Paul Burnett. You have, obviously, Chris McHugh, Tom Hodges, etc., all large blockers, but his ability to read the hit is phenomenal and really impressive to watch. Coming back to Australia, of course, from Poland, where he finished 7th on their national tour, their national championships, which, if you are new to the sport, you just need to know the European countries are phenomenal at beach volleyball. So to finish on such a high standing on their tour, definitely a really big job. So really good to see him back on the sands here, competing in Australia.
So let's talk about the strategies of the two teams here. Who do you think that the boys in the gold, Mateusz and James, who will they attack?
Well, it really depends. I think they'll most likely go more after Kaia than Kiefer, just for the fact of Kaia is not as experienced as Kiefer in the beach volleyball community and may be prone to a few more hitting mistakes. And I think Mateusz, obviously a very confident man, backs his blocking ability to the end. So I think he's hoping to get a few blocks there off the hits from Kaia.
Yeah, it's very different to, like, if you watch a lot of the junior players there, they tend to stay away from the big guy, afraid of the bigger hit. But as you can see in this scenario, I do believe that they will attack Kaia, and will wait for the error, even though he may be very good at swinging high and hard. I think Kiefer's volleyball IQ, like you were saying before, could be the slight advantage over there.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with this gusty wind that we've been seeing, like we've been talking about all afternoon. That ball gets pushed into a non-ideal situation. Kiefer's crafty enough to place it back in the court, keep it in play, especially, and also kind of make it difficult. Well, here we go. See, perfect example there. Kaia maybe not as experienced on the beach, so maybe we'll find a little more trouble with that sort of stuff. But again, still has that height, still has the power to really be able to do some damage.
And just when we talk about Kaia's inexperience, he does a great shot right in the backcourt, nice and high, behind both defenders, and gets the point.
Really smart, great use of his height there, pushing it deep, making it really difficult. A diving save needed from Takken, unable to get it. In a similar concept, I wouldn't be surprised if the boys in pink target Takken for most of this game. As again, Mateusz Zieba, just the more experienced beach player, may convert at a slightly higher percentage. Interesting point you mentioned, though, about most junior teams often targeting the smaller guy, afraid of the big hit. This is actually quite an interesting point to bring up, as a lot of the smaller players often have higher side-out percentages, just for the reason that their entire, I guess you could say, beach volleyball career and junior tournaments, they've only ever been served. So I think every now and then, my recommendation to junior teams is every now and then, pop a few serves on the big guy, because you might find they're a bit more shaky on the pass. Maybe they make a few hitting errors, that sort of stuff. Or maybe the smaller guy's got a bit shaky on the hands. But again, Mateusz Zieba, we just spoke about his confidence on the block, expecting to get a few on Kaia, and there we go. Huge block there, really good read, jumped in, high hands, almost untouchable. You've come from a place of a lot of experience in coaching, especially when heavily involved in the junior stuff over in New South Wales before moving to the Volleyball Australia side of things. How do you think it's developed over time in terms of how much, I guess you could say, the opportunities created for our juniors in the current years?
Yeah, look, I think Volleyball New South Wales has done a fantastic job over the last couple of years to create more not just training opportunities, but playing opportunities. Last year and the year before, they really developed their junior state tour. So not just the senior state tour, but the junior state tour. And a lot of the kids were getting lots of exposure to quality competition. And I think it really showed when they went to the junior youth championships last year how well prepared they were in game type scenarios, not just training. So well done to the guys over in New South Wales who developed a fantastic junior program, and well done to all the clubs as well who contributed greatly to that program.
Absolutely, always great to see those opportunities being increased. Another thing is, I guess, you have a look at a lot of junior tournaments. It's one thing to have exposure to games, another to have exposure to those high-pressure moments. You know, a big game or a tight set, close games can always be a bit tough. So it's really good to try and get that experience and exposure as early as possible.
Yeah, and it's great to see like Volleyball Australia now investing in a lot more than just the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour. We have the Australian Junior Beach Volleyball Tour now. You know, what once was only a one event for the beach season now has increased to 3. And you see a lot of those junior athletes also compete in the Challenger division of the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour. So it's great to see that so many juniors are now playing good quality volleyball and not just training back in their home environments. Yeah?
Absolutely, it gives them the exposure to, like, you know, the skills and stuff of the players from the other state. And it's the other thing to notice is it's definitely creating like that really good beach volleyball community. The community is getting larger and larger with every year that goes past, and it's really good to see that sort of friendliness, especially from the top teams as well. Like, you know, in a lot of sports, sometimes those top people are sometimes isolated. You can't quite have a conversation, but luckily with the beach volleyball community, you can always go up to Chris McHugh, Bob Burnett, you can go up to those guys, and they're always happy to say hi.
Yeah, it is really a wonderful community back here, back down the beach. The Volleyaroos are great ambassadors of the sport. Always happy to say hi, always happy to give some advice. Always happy to join us in the commentary team as well sometimes. Score is 11-4.
Strong start from the veterans, as we knew they'd come out. Again, waiting for those few mistakes from the junior teams, finding a few, and again, huge swing from Mateusz Zieba. Get a perfect example there of why you want to avoid him having the ball to swing at.
So Mateusz used to play with Sam Halley over the last couple of years, but he went home, I believe, and now he's back here.
Absolutely went home for a little bit. He actually got delayed over there due to COVID. He wanted to come back, but he started playing the tours over there. Got some really, really nice results. And again, luckily for, I think, all of us here in Australia, he decided to come back for this tour.
What a great back set there by Kiefer Sinclair.
Again, as we said, just a really skillful player. A lot of great touches. Big swing there from James Takken, having fun with the open cross court.
So I believe that Kiefer and Kaia are more, I guess, have more experience on the indoor than they do on the beach. Is that correct?
I think I definitely came over from WA. Unfortunately, don't know too much about his past, but I think, yeah, came from the indoor scene, definitely a middle sort of build, a really strong hitter in indoor, really dangerous. It's really good to see him out on the beach. But again, similar sort of things to characters that we've seen before. He's got a really good development over these past few months / year, just to see him really become a bit more comfortable on the sand.
Yeah, it's great to see these guys are both members of the Australian Volleyball Academy in Canberra. The focus on that academy is a little bit more skewed towards beach volleyball, but they do a lot of indoor as well. It is a integrated program, but it's great to see these guys venture out into the beach and doing some great stuff.
Oh, Mateusz Zieba there getting called for the carry. A little bit unhappy with himself, but that's okay. Experienced enough to reset his focus, reset, and come forward, get the next point.
It's just deep.
Mate, compare it to last set of Kiefer's one that he hold here and set behind.
I think Mateusz was just telling him about his travels overseas and how happy he is to be back on the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour.
Yes,
that says fantastic. Great to see you again, buddy.
Absolutely, yeah. The hand motions you saw there were just him showing him the basketball shooting form he'd just learned. That one there just travelling long, which will bring up our tech timeout at 13-8, 5-point lead for the boys Mateusz and Takken. And we will have a short commercial before we come back.
You're watching the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour here in the beautiful Shoalhaven. We're at Mollymook Beach. Big thank you to the Shoalhaven Council. Big thank you to the South. What do we call this? Is it the the Southern Volleyball Association? I better get this right.
Kaia Clarkin to kick us off after the timeout. Unlucky there, just serving long, bringing up a lovely point, easy side out for the men in yellow. James Takken now back to the line to get us started again.
So James Takken went overseas for a little while, over to Canada to play. There's some indoor, and it's great to see him back on the beaches here with our national team program as well. You played a little bit against James. What are your thoughts on him as a player?
Oh, he's a great player. As a person, really, really friendly as well. So always happy to have a chat and easy to approach. But as a player, really athletic, nice jump, and can really put a ball away well. Obviously experienced in the beach volleyball community as well, as he has had his moments. He actually represented Australia at the Youth Commonwealth Games in the Bahamas, which was really cool to see. Him and Mark, I believe, picking up a bronze medal over there, doing really, really well.
How good was that set by Kaia Clarkin? Going across his shoulder, pushing it nice and wide for Kiefer. Nice cut shot. Picks up a point for them. They are just trailing 9-15. Once again, a great set by Kaia. He just picks up the speed a little bit. Send that ball a little bit flatter. A little bit wider. Gives Kiefer, the short player, lots of room to swing. And Kiefer rolls that ball down the line, 10-15.
Again, it's actually very easy for players when they have a lead to just almost get too comfortable. We see it in indoor as well in volleyball in general. Some teams get too comfortable with the lead and start, sort of letting up the pressure a little bit, and allows the other team to come right back into the game. But Mateusz Zieba sealing it even more, giving them the 6-point lead now. They're now closer to the finish than the others are to catching them.
Yeah, Mateusz and James are, I believe, equally great in their side-out ability. So who would you, if you were serving, who would you serve at?
I think personally, I'd probably drift more towards James Takken, just for the simple reason of having a bit more understanding of his game and seeing him play a bit more often and playing some of the junior stuff with him and against him, like that sort of stuff. I think that would, maybe my understanding of him is a bit better. And I think Mateusz, at the moment, has that little bit more experience, especially in like crucial moments. He's a veteran performing under pressure, so I think he's a little bit more of a threat to me personally. But again, James, as you said, very strong side out, so really it could go either way. And we see
There's a net touch.
Oh, it wasn't given as a net touch there. It was given as a carry by the look of the referee to the other team. So Mateusz will get the serve here, and he will lead us back out. Beautiful skill and play there shown by Mateusz Zieba, like taking the ball at really nice height. We see a lot of the strong players and even the high players such as Chris McHugh and Paul Burnett. We saw similar stuff in their first game. The height they take the ball when they choose to do a cut shot, the greatest cut shots in the world really have no arc. It's just almost a straight down from the top of the hand, so really difficult to defend those.
Yes, it definitely is amazing the athleticism of these players on the beach. They block, they defend, they hit. They're just their ability to move, to cover, those 8 by 8 meters of sand. Fantastic. I believe that was the first set to Mateusz and James Takken. We're going to go on a break. We'll see you soon. We're back on the second set of this first round of games on the main draw of the elite division of the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour. It's the second round here in Mollymook. Mateusz Zieba and James Takken taking the first set quite comfortably against Kaia Clarkin and Kiefer Sinclair. Let's see what the young boys can do this set. Kai having a little bit of a chuckle there. I think he expected that ball to go straight down. Unfortunately, straight out the back. trail 1 point. There you go. 1-1.
It's impressive to see as well the growing impact that beach volleyball is happening around the world. Like more and more athletes, especially in this country, starting to play it, get involved in it really early. A lot more schools trying to get kids involved and more active. So it's really good to see the increased number of people on beaches.
Yeah, like every week that every year when the Beach Volleyball Tour is run, we get more and more athletes apply to play. It's great to see that our state tours are growing as well. As we mentioned before, the junior state tours are fantastic. More players definitely playing beach volleyball.
Even the respect, like it's starting to gain around the world, is incredible. Like for those that have a keen knowledge of other sports, such as the NBA, one of the greatest players of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, even himself made a comment of he loves basketball, but the athleticism he sees on court in beach volleyball is truly breathtaking and amazing. And so it's really good to see just the recognition. Even some of the greatest athletes in other sports are starting to realize like how hard some of these athletes have to work to get to where they are.
It's up to you guys. I'm not phased.
3-2 here with Kaia to serve.
It's great to see James Takken swing so high and hard and deep. You know, this guy has the ability to bounce that ball in the sand and bounce over our tent. But, his experience shows that, hey, if I want to win points internationally, I'll hit the ball high, hard, and deep. And this time, clipping that side and baseline. It's good volleyball.
Absolutely, yeah. Perfect swing there to find that back corner. It's what we want to, more people are trying to teach the juniors. Swinging, the term is high, long, strong. Trying to make sure we swing really high, hard, especially when you've got the wind to assist in dropping that ball down. (5-2) at the ends change here with James Takken back behind the line. Bringing that lovely float serve as it moves in the wind. Really difficult to adjust to those. I often... in indoor, without the conditions, it's one big thing for those that may be watching with not enough knowledge of beach volleyball. One of the big things that changes is just the effect of the elements on you. Like how much more difficult certain things can be to pass, especially with the amount of ball can float now with the added pressure of the wind, is something that just really makes some of these athletes' passing ability truly special.
And Lewis, what would you say to young kids at home? What advice would you give them when playing in the wind and during your side out?
Playing into the wind, you're technically playing on the good side, so just making sure really to focus on getting your body behind the ball, because in the wind, the ball will generally carry more with the wind, so more straight lines. So just making sure to get your body behind the ball, getting that ball forward, and then making sure when the ball comes up, have a go at it. Like, there's no shame in having an attack at it, and you'll find when you've got the forgiveness of the wind, you'll probably win a lot more points than you'll lose having a crack at that ball.
Yeah, definitely easier playing into the wind, so that when the wind is blowing into your face, because you can actually have a swing at it. What about when the wind is behind you? What's some advice you give the kids at home?
Well, when the wind's behind you, it's a little more tactical. You have to work on how you want to score points. So sometimes you'll see a lot of players will turn to shots and things such as that don't require as much power in order to try and save a few points. But even at the top level, you watch the height they take the ball and the sharpness of the ball they can hit. I think a good thing to know early is just back yourself, really. Like, just have the confidence to have a swing, because if the set's right and you're in a good position, you'll find you can put the ball down no matter what side you're on. You may have a little less forgiveness in going deep with the wind, but overall, if you just trust your ability, make sure you swing hard, swing strong, you'll find you win a lot more points the same way.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you watch the top-level players. When it's windy, it just doesn't seem like the wind has any effect on them whatsoever. They'll still jump, set the ball high, set the ball tight, and have a crack at it. They're just that confidence.
Absolutely there. Beautiful spot by James Takken. Launches that ball into the air. But again, nice little transition play there by Kiefer. A nice shoot set. Wide push there by Kaia. Kiefer, lovely line shot. Just going wide, though. But again, it's these sort of tactics that you just got to understand that, look, sometimes it's not going to work out. You know, there's going to be good points won. You're going to make some errors here and there. What makes a great player is just that. Your ability to come back next point and make another play. And Kiefer's done just that, beautifully playing off the hands of the block there.
It's interesting to see Kaia's strategy to set Kiefer. A little bit lower, a little bit flatter, a little bit wider. Why do you think that gives Kiefer an advantage to hit?
Well, I think personally, when the ball's moving at a certain speed, it becomes very hard as a blocker to actually set your block completely. So if you're not the biggest hitter on the tour, especially with Kiefer playing up against some of the top players now in this, especially in the main draw, when you move the ball a bit faster, it means sometimes your blockers are going to struggle getting as much height or even a more set block, as we use the term. So you may get more of a chance to swing either off hands, or the court might actually be more open because the blocker hasn't got out there in time, that sort of thing. Similar to indoor, when you set fast balls outside to hope the middle doesn't close in time, leaving a massive cross-court open. Same sort of vibe there. You set out wide, you set fast to try and give yourself that extra advantage on a hitter.
So with this format this year, where the teams who are not in the main draws automatically, that's like the top 12 ranked teams, they all fight for the last 4 positions to get into the main draw. And that's played from Friday morning at 8 a.m. And they play all morning. They could play up to 2 or 3 games, and then have to come up and play on the same day in the afternoon against the top seeds. That's pretty tough, don't you reckon? And you yourself, you were trying to qualify. How do you prepare yourself for something like that?
Well, there's actually 2 mindsets here. Like, one of them is obviously trying to qualify. I think that's a great thing to have in the draw, because it means for a team that may not have as much chance to play, they choose to enter these tournaments, they still get a chance to fight to try and earn their way into that top division. As for me personally, my mindset is, hey, look, if I'm going up against guys like Chris McHugh and Paul Burnett, I've got nothing to lose. I have absolutely nothing to lose. I'm tired. I've played 2, maybe 3 games already that day, and now my first game of my whole tournament is against the top seeds. So really, I've got nothing to lose. I may as well go out, give it everything. May as well swing, have a crack. And look, at the end of the day, if I come out second best in that game, I'm okay with that. Personally, I hate losing, but it's the concept of, look, they're in the position they're in. They're a really strong team. I'm just going to go out and do my best, and hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, it's a tough road to get through the main draw and to be successful in the main draw, especially if you're trying to get through the qualification tournament. As I said, you could play up to 3 games before you actually play in the main draw. And if you're successful in the main draw, you got to play another 3 or 4 games before you make the finals. If you're not successful in qualifying for the main draw, you then play in the Challenger division, which is a whole new competition that starts tomorrow. That's a lot of volleyball for only a couple of days.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's important. This is what we talk about when I was speaking before about some of the athleticism and the fitness levels of. So we were just talking about, welcome back to Mollymook. We are here on the Australian Beach Volleyball Tour, coming out of the tech timeout, set 2, with Mateusz Zieba and James Takken up against Kiefer and Kaia.
Yeah, we were talking about the workload that you have when you play in these Australian Beach Volleyball Tour events, playing all day Friday, to try and qualify for the main draw. If you do, then great, you play the main draw. If you don't, you play the Challenger division. Which is another 4 or 5 games. How does one prepare for such a heavy workload over the one weekend?
Well, there's a lot of fitness preparation, a lot of body and even mental preparation that goes into creating like this sort of environment. A lot of people are playing around the clock anyways, so their fitness is always fairly high. But those extra stuff of gym, strength and conditioning, but more importantly, injury prevention is a huge one. Unlike an indoor, if you get injured, you can just be subbed off and you can support your team still and you can still be a member of that community. In beach, there are no substitutions. So unfortunately, if you get injured, that is your whole team eliminated from the competition. So you're not just really playing for yourself. You've also got a partner that's worth, going through that injury prevention strategies and stuff like that to make sure that you don't really cost your partner the tournament. And we see a lot of the top volleyballers doing that here. A lot of the Australian players, you can catch them an hour before their match, maybe an hour and a half, just rolling out, stretching. They're doing all sorts of stuff. They're focusing on their game. A lot of them have those TheraBands to stretch out, make sure their muscles are warm, all in like preparation, as well as the recovery stuff they do afterwards is always important too.
Yeah, what's even crazier now is if you actually come down to the beach and you watch the volleyballers after they play, a lot of them actually then do a fitness session after that. So, we had Zach Schubert come in last week and talk about, the fact that they want to be the fittest players out on the circuit, and they could never have it as an excuse that they weren't fit enough in the game. So lots of work going into their fitness regime.
Absolutely. Like you look at a lot of tournaments, and if you're coming into a tournament, let's say you only have a week, 2 weeks, suddenly a tournament's been sprung on you. It's easier to like train the skills and stuff like that, but if you don't have time to train the fitness, it becomes really important to make sure, especially as juniors, if you're coming through those tournaments, like you're going to have time to train your skills. That's what your volleyball sessions are for. But a lot of coaches like doing a little bit of fitness, but they shouldn't have to. Juniors should be trying to work on their fitness, make sure, again, similar thing, they come out the fittest players on the beach. If you can run non-stop and jump non-stop, you're going to win a lot of tournaments just from basically being able to outrun the other team. You start shooting the ball around, they get tired, and you never get tired. Like, makes your life a lot easier as a player.
Yeah, you mentioned before, in beach volleyball, there's only 2 people and there's no subs. There's no way out. You got to find solutions physically, mentally, emotionally.
Absolutely, yeah. So when there's only 2 of you, you might find one of you's having a bad day. And I can guarantee every single team has gone through that experience of one of you's having a bad day. Maybe you're both having a bad day. But it's really important, like the decisions and tactically you make those sort of decisions to try and help each other out and try and see if you can ease the load on your partner to make sure that no matter if they're having a bad day or not, you're able to still be a very competitive team. Another interesting fact about beach volleyball, for those that don't know, is on the larger scale, once you leave the junior sort of thing, you do get coaching, as you're preparing for events. But during an actual game, there is similar to tennis, if you've ever watched, is you're not actually allowed to coach. You don't have a coach. So you really, a lot of it, as I said, we talk about on junior tournaments, they're given coaches to try and help. A lot of it is to do with that gameplay stuff, like learning strategies, learning how to adapt. Because once they hit the senior tours all around the world, I believe except for the AVP in America, but I believe every other internationally run tournament, you don't actually have a coach with you on the court. So you have to make these sort of decisions for yourself, figure out a way out on your own.
Well, interestingly enough, there has been some conversations at the FIVB to allow coaching at the senior level. That's yet to be determined, and there's lots of discussions around it. Do you think coaching has a place in beach volleyball at a senior level?
I think one of the skills of beach volleyball is the ability for them to almost coach themselves. But again, I would love to see some coaching happening at the senior level just to see what dynamic it brings. Like, does it actually really change the outcome? Like, when you have so much access to footage of how teams play, so much access to this and that, and so many resources, how much is having just that extra set of eyes really going to help? What about yourself? Being an experienced coach as well, do you think having another set of eyes just on the game even helps?
Yeah, look, I have to be honest, and I'm unsure if it's a good or bad idea. Like, I do believe that coaching has its place during the junior years of these athletes. One of the great things about senior beach volleyball is watching the players, and when you go to when you watch them on TV and have a close up of them having a chat in the box, what they have to go through, the decisions they have to make, I think makes the game quite interesting. Having to rely on a third person or having the benefit of a third person to give advice, I'm not quite sure if that is a true testament of their ability to play the game, because I want to see them, fight not only physically but that mental. We do need coaches in the sport, and coaches do need a pathway, and coaches do need to be recognized. So I see there's a benefit of having the coaches on that sideline with them to show the value of coaching.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more there, especially on that, as you said, just that senior scale. Maybe a set of eyes would be curious to see the impact it has, but as I was saying before, it's just so impressive to watch teams figure out their own method of stopping a run or figure out how they're going to play, and it's something that makes the best teams the best in the world. Is just, it's a way, an option to blame something else. If you have a bad game, sometimes you can go, oh, the coach's strategy wasn't correct. But, when it's just you two on court and you have to come up and you've got to change the stuff, you haven't got that option to blame. Like, at the end of the day, you lose a match, you can either go, hey, we did this and this incorrect, or maybe we didn't have a good game.
Yeah, I like the accountability of the players. Yeah, no coaching means you have to be accountable for yourself. Decisions you make is up to you. The coach has prepared you to get to this point, but in the end, it's all about you. And we like, player-centered coach. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. That looked like a double block, maybe double defense.
Absolutely. Actually, not uncommon. You'd be surprised. Often, if a defender falls over and doesn't have time to get back, you'll see him stand up and jump up. But unfortunately, in this situation, did not work out too well. We have our winners, Mateusz Zieba and James Takken. They will head through to the player for the top of their pool. Great game by the June. Great start for them.
Well, thank you, Lewis Jupp, for joining us today in the commentary box. Good luck over the next couple of days in your competition.